What if the decisions made by a single leader thousands of years ago still shape the world you live in today? History is often seen as a collection of distant events, but the truth is, the choices of ancient leaders ripple through time in ways we rarely stop to consider. Take Cleopatra, for example. Her political alliances with Julius Caesar and Mark Antony didn't just influence the fate of Egypt, they altered the course of the Roman Empire, setting the stage for the Western world as we know it. But what if she had chosen differently? What if her decisions had taken another path? The answers to these questions reveal just how interconnected our modern world is with the actions of those who came before us. In this video, we're diving into the lives of 25 ancient leaders whose choices changed history in the most unexpected ways. From pharaohs who defied tradition to conquerors who reshaped entire continents, these figures didn't just leave their mark on their own time. They created legacies that continue to influence us today. Why does this matter? Because understanding these hidden threads of history helps us see the bigger picture. It shows us how one decision, one moment, can echo across centuries. So, are you ready to uncover the stories of leaders who defied expectations, challenged norms, and left behind legacies that still shape our world? From the innovative trade expeditions of Hatshepsut to the revolutionary philosophies of Confucius, we'll explore how these ancient figures changed history in ways you'd never imagine. Stay with us because by the end of this video, you'll see history not as a series of isolated events, but as a web of interconnected choices that continue to shape our lives today. Let's begin this journey into the past and discover how it still lives in the present. Now turning to the first leader on our list, we meet Hatshepsut, a woman who defied the norms of her time to become one of ancient Egypt's most remarkable pharaohs. In a society where power was traditionally held by men, Hatshepsut didn't just step into the role of ruler, she redefined it. Her story begins with her rise to power as regent for her young stepson, Thutmose III. But rather than stepping aside when he came of age, Hatshepsut declared herself pharaoh, a bold move that challenged the very foundations of Egyptian tradition. What made Hatshepsut's reign truly extraordinary was her ability to balance innovation with stability. One of her most significant achievements was the launch of a groundbreaking trade expedition to the distant land of Punt. This journey, meticulously recorded on the walls of her mortuary temple, brought back treasures like gold, ivory, exotic animals, and fragrant myrrh, which were not only symbols of wealth but also tools for strengthening Egypt's economy and international influence. The success of this expedition showcased her strategic vision and cemented her legacy as a leader who prioritized prosperity and innovation. But Hatshepsut's impact went beyond trade. She was also a master builder, leaving behind architectural marvels that still awe us today. The Temple of Deir el-Bahari, her mortuary temple, stands as a testament to her ambition and creativity. Designed to blend seamlessly with the natural landscape, it was a bold departure from traditional Egyptian architecture. Historians often point to this structure as evidence of her ability to think beyond the conventions of her time, creating something that was both functional and breathtakingly beautiful. Perhaps most importantly, Hatshepsut's reign challenged deeply ingrained gender norms. By presenting herself as a male pharaoh in official depictions, complete with a false beard and traditional male regalia, she navigated the complexities of ruling in a patriarchal society. Her success paved the way for future female leaders, proving that women could wield power just as effectively as men. Hatshepsut's legacy didn't end with her death. Her reign influenced not only Egypt but also the broader ancient world, setting a precedent for leadership that transcended gender and tradition. As we move forward, we'll explore another leader who defied expectations in equally surprising ways, Cyrus the Great, the Persian king whose policies of tolerance reshaped the concept of empire itself. Now turning to the second leader on our list, we encounter Cyrus the Great, a visionary ruler whose legacy of tolerance and inclusivity reshaped the ancient world. As the founder of the Persian Empire, Cyrus didn't just conquer lands, he united them under a revolutionary philosophy of diversity and respect. Unlike many conquerors of his time, Cyrus believed in the power of cultural and religious coexistence, a principle that set his empire apart and laid the groundwork for modern ideas of human rights. One of the most enduring symbols of Cyrus's enlightened rule is the Cyrus cylinder, a small clay artifact often hailed as the first charter of human rights. Discovered in Babylon, this ancient document records Cyrus's decree to free enslaved peoples, restore temples, and allow displaced communities to return to their homelands. It's a remarkable testament to his belief in justice and fairness, principles that were groundbreaking for their time. Historians have praised the cylinder as a milestone in the history of governance, with some even calling it a precursor to modern concepts of human rights. Cyrus's policies of tolerance weren't just about fairness. They were also strategic. By allowing conquered peoples to maintain their customs, languages, and religions, he fostered loyalty and stability across his vast empire. This approach not only minimized rebellion but also created a thriving multicultural society where ideas and innovations could flourish. His empire became a melting pot of cultures, from the Zoroastrians of Persia to the Jews of Babylon, who revered him as a liberator for allowing them to rebuild their temple in Jerusalem. The impact of Cyrus's rule extended far beyond his lifetime. His model of governance influenced leaders for centuries, from Alexander the Great to the founders of modern democracies. Historian Tom Holland once noted, Cyrus's empire was not just a political entity, it was a moral one, built on the idea that diversity could be a source of strength rather than division. This philosophy of tolerance and inclusion remains relevant today, reminding us of the enduring power of leadership that values humanity above all else. As we reflect on Cyrus's legacy, we're reminded that true greatness lies not in domination but in the ability to unite and uplift. And with that, we turn to our next leader, a mastermind of military strategy whose audacious tactics defied the odds and reshaped the art of warfare, Hannibal Barca. Now turning to the third leader on our list, we meet Hannibal Barca, a military genius whose audacious strategies and unyielding determination made him one of history's most formidable commanders. Hannibal's story begins with one of the most daring feats in military history, the crossing of the Alps with an army that included war elephants. This seemingly impossible journey was not just a logistical marvel, but also a psychological masterstroke designed to strike fear into the heart of Rome. Imagine the sight of elephants trudging through snow-covered mountain passes, a spectacle that left both allies and enemies in awe. This bold move was the opening act of Hannibal's campaign to challenge Rome's dominance, and it set the stage for a series of battles that would redefine warfare. Hannibal's tactics were as innovative as they were effective. At the Battle of Cannae, he executed one of the most celebrated military maneuvers in history, encircling and annihilating a much larger Roman force. By luring the Romans into a trap and using his cavalry to close the noose, Hannibal demonstrated a level of strategic brilliance that would be studied for centuries. His ability to outthink and outmaneuver his opponents made him a legend, even among those who feared him. Military historian John Keegan once remarked, Hannibal's genius lay not just in his ability to win battles, but in his capacity to exploit the psychology of his enemies. He understood that fear and confusion could be as powerful as swords and shields. Despite his victories, Hannibal's triumphs were ultimately short-lived. Rome's resilience and its ability to adapt to his strategies eventually turned the tide. Yet, his impact on Roman military thinking was profound. The lessons learned from Hannibal's campaigns forced Rome to rethink its approach to warfare, leading to innovations in tactics, logistics, and leadership. His influence can be seen in the way Roman generals like Scipio Africanus adopted and adapted his methods, proving that even in defeat, Hannibal's legacy endured. Hannibal's use of psychological warfare was another hallmark of his strategy. By striking deep into Roman territory and winning battles on their soil, he aimed to break the spirit of Rome's allies and sow doubt among its leaders. His ability to inspire loyalty among his diverse army, composed of soldiers from across the Mediterranean, further underscored his leadership skills. Hannibal wasn't just a commander, he was a master of human psychology, using every tool at his disposal to achieve his goals. As we reflect on Hannibal's legacy, we see a leader who defied the odds and reshaped the art of warfare through innovation, courage, and an unshakable belief in his mission. His story reminds us that even the most audacious dreams can leave an indelible mark on history. And with that, we turn to our next leader, a philosopher whose teachings would go on to shape the moral and ethical foundations of an entire civilization, Confucius. Now turning to the fourth leader on our list, we encounter Confucius, a philosopher whose teachings on ethics, governance, and human relationships became the bedrock of Chinese culture and influenced societies far beyond his time. Born in the 6th century before the Common Era, Confucius lived during a period of political turmoil and social unrest in ancient China. Yet, his vision for a harmonious society, rooted in moral integrity and respect for tradition, would go on to shape the moral fabric of an entire civilization. At the heart of Confucius' philosophy was the concept of ren, often translated as benevolence or humaneness. He believed that cultivating moral character was essential for both individuals and leaders. In his Analects, he famously stated, "Do not impose on others what you do not desire for yourself." This principle, known as the Golden Rule, underscores his emphasis on empathy and ethical behavior. Confucius taught that a just society could only be achieved if leaders led by example, embodying virtues like honesty, humility, and compassion. His ideas laid the groundwork for a system of governance that prioritized the well-being of the people over the pursuit of power. Confucius also emphasized the importance of education and self-improvement. He believed that learning was a lifelong journey and that everyone, regardless of their social status, had the potential to become a virtuous person. His teachings on the 5 relationships, ruler and subject, father and son, husband and wife, elder and younger siblings, and friend, provided a framework for maintaining harmony in both personal and societal interactions. These principles became deeply ingrained in East Asian cultures, influencing everything from family dynamics to political systems. The enduring wisdom of Confucius is perhaps best captured in his Analects, a collection of his sayings and ideas compiled by his disciples. One of his most profound insights is, "The superior man understands what is right, the inferior man understands what will sell." This distinction between moral integrity and self-interest remains relevant today, offering a timeless reminder of the importance of ethical leadership. Confucius' teachings also inspired the development of the civil service examination system in China, which selected government officials based on their knowledge of Confucian texts and their moral character. This system, which lasted for centuries, ensured that governance was guided by principles of wisdom and virtue. Even in modern times, Confucius' ideas continue to resonate. Leaders around the world draw inspiration from his emphasis on humility, empathy, and the pursuit of knowledge. His vision of a society built on mutual respect and moral integrity serves as a guiding light in an age often marked by division and self-interest. As we reflect on Confucius' legacy, we see a leader whose wisdom transcended his time, offering timeless lessons for humanity. And with that, we turn to our next leader, a visionary who used art and culture to leave an indelible mark on history, Ashoka the Great. Now turning to the fifth leader on our list, we meet Ashoka the Great, a ruler whose life took a dramatic turn from conqueror to peacemaker, leaving a profound legacy that reshaped the spiritual and ethical landscape of Asia. Ashoka, the third emperor of the Mauryan dynasty, began his reign as a fierce and ambitious leader, expanding his empire through military conquests. However, it was the brutal Kalinga War, fought around 262 years before the Common Era, that became the turning point in his life. The sheer scale of death and suffering he witnessed during this conflict, reportedly over 100,000 lives lost, left him deeply shaken. This moment of reckoning led Ashoka to renounce violence and embrace the teachings of Buddhism, marking the beginning of his transformation into one of history's most remarkable advocates for peace and compassion. Ashoka's conversion to Buddhism was not merely a personal choice. It became the foundation of his governance. He dedicated himself to spreading the principles of nonviolence, tolerance, and ethical living throughout his empire and beyond. One of his most significant contributions was the establishment of rock edicts, inscriptions carved into stone pillars and boulders across his vast territory. These edicts served as public declarations of his commitment to moral governance and social welfare. They addressed a wide range of issues, from the humane treatment of animals to the promotion of religious tolerance and the importance of kindness and respect for all living beings. Through these edicts, Ashoka sought to create a society rooted in compassion and justice, where the well-being of his people was prioritized above all else. Ashoka's efforts to spread Buddhist teachings extended far beyond his empire. He sent missionaries to regions as distant as Sri Lanka, Central Asia, and even parts of the Mediterranean, fostering the growth of Buddhism as a global spiritual tradition. His patronage of the faith also led to the construction of stupas, monasteries, and other religious sites, many of which remain important pilgrimage destinations to this day. Historians often highlight Ashoka's role in transforming Buddhism from a regional belief system into a world religion, influencing cultures and societies across Asia for centuries to come. But Ashoka's legacy is not limited to spirituality alone. His rock edicts also reveal a visionary approach to governance, emphasizing the importance of social welfare and ethical leadership. He established hospitals, rest houses, and wells for travelers, ensuring that his people had access to basic necessities. He also promoted environmental conservation, urging his subjects to plant trees and protect wildlife. These initiatives reflect a leader who understood the interconnectedness of human well-being and the natural world, a perspective that remains strikingly relevant in our modern era. Ashoka's transformation from a ruthless conqueror to a compassionate ruler serves as a powerful reminder of the potential for change within even the most hardened individuals. His life story challenges us to reflect on the impact of our actions and the possibility of redemption. As we move forward, we encounter another leader whose contributions to science and innovation would change the course of history, Hypatia of Alexandria. Now turning to the sixth leader on our list, we encounter Hypatia of Alexandria, a brilliant mathematician and philosopher who defied the constraints of her time to become one of the most influential scholars of the ancient world. Born in the late 4th century in Alexandria, Egypt, Hypatia lived in a society where women were rarely afforded opportunities for education or public influence. Yet, through her intellect and determination, she rose to prominence as a leading figure in the intellectual circles of her day, earning respect and admiration from students and peers alike. Hypatia's contributions to mathematics and astronomy were groundbreaking. She is best known for her work on conic sections, a complex area of geometry that explores the properties of curves like parabolas and ellipses. Her commentaries on the works of earlier mathematicians such as Diophantus and Apollonius helped preserve and expand upon their ideas, ensuring that their knowledge was passed down to future generations. Hypatia also played a key role in the development of the astrolabe, an ancient instrument used for solving problems related to astronomy and navigation. Her innovations in this field not only advanced scientific understanding, but also had practical applications that benefited sailors, astronomers, and scholars for centuries. Beyond her scientific achievements, Hypatia was a renowned philosopher who taught Neoplatonism, a school of thought that sought to reconcile the teachings of Plato with other philosophical traditions. Her lectures attracted students from across the Mediterranean, many of whom traveled great distances to study under her guidance. Hypatia's ability to explain complex ideas with clarity and passion made her a beloved teacher and a symbol of intellectual freedom in an era marked by political and religious turmoil. However, Hypatia's life was tragically cut short. In the year 415, during a period of rising tensions between Christians and pagans in Alexandria, she became a target of mob violence. Her murder, often attributed to religious extremists, was a stark reminder of the dangers faced by those who dared to challenge the status quo. Historians have described her death as a turning point in the history of intellectual freedom, symbolizing the suppression of knowledge and the persecution of independent thinkers. As one scholar noted, Hypatia's death marked the end of an era in which women could openly participate in the intellectual life of the ancient world. Despite the tragic end to her life, Hypatia's legacy endures. She remains a powerful symbol of courage, curiosity, and the pursuit of knowledge in the face of adversity. Her contributions to mathematics, astronomy, and philosophy laid the groundwork for future scientific advancements, and her story continues to inspire those who value intellectual freedom and equality. As we move forward, we encounter another leader whose diplomatic skills and visionary leadership would leave an indelible mark on history: Chandragupta Maurya, the unifier of India. Now turning to the seventh leader on our list, we meet Chandragupta Maurya, the visionary ruler who unified much of ancient India and laid the foundation for one of the largest empires in history. Born in the 4th century BCE, Chandragupta rose from humble beginnings to become a formidable leader, thanks in large part to his alliance with Chanakya, a brilliant strategist and political thinker. Together, they crafted a blueprint for governance and military strategy that would not only secure Chandragupta's empire, but also influence political thought for centuries to come. Chandragupta's rise to power began with his bold campaign to overthrow the Nanda dynasty, which ruled over the Magadha region. With Chanakya's guidance, he assembled a powerful army and employed innovative tactics to defeat his rivals. One of his most notable achievements was the establishment of the Mauryan Empire, which at its peak stretched from present-day Afghanistan in the west to Bengal in the east, and as far south as the Deccan Plateau. This vast territory made the Mauryan Empire one of the most extensive and well-organized states of its time. Central to Chandragupta's success was his partnership with Chanakya, often referred to as the Indian Machiavelli for his shrewd political strategies. Chanakya's treatise, the Arthashastra, remains one of the most comprehensive works on statecraft, economics, and military strategy ever written. It outlines principles of governance, diplomacy, and administration that were revolutionary for their time and continue to be studied by scholars and leaders today. Together, Chandragupta and Chanakya created a centralized administration that emphasized efficiency, accountability, and the welfare of the people. Chandragupta's administrative reforms were equally groundbreaking. He divided his empire into provinces, each governed by a network of officials who reported directly to the central authority. This system ensured effective governance and allowed for the efficient collection of taxes, which funded infrastructure projects such as roads, irrigation systems, and public buildings. His emphasis on law and order, as well as his efforts to promote trade and agriculture, contributed to the prosperity and stability of his empire. Beyond his political and administrative achievements, Chandragupta's reign had a profound cultural impact. His empire fostered a sense of unity among diverse regions and peoples, laying the groundwork for the rich tapestry of Indian culture that would flourish in the centuries to come. His legacy as a unifier and reformer endures, serving as a testament to the power of visionary leadership and strategic thinking. As we reflect on Chandragupta's remarkable contributions, we turn our attention to another leader whose influence would reshape the spiritual landscape of the ancient world, Constantine the Great, the emperor who transformed Christianity into a dominant force. Now turning to the eighth leader on our list, we encounter Constantine the Great, the Roman emperor whose reign marked a turning point in the history of Christianity and the Western world. Constantine's story begins with a pivotal moment before the Battle of Milvian Bridge in the year 312. According to historical accounts, Constantine experienced a vision of a cross in the sky, accompanied by the words, "In this sign you shall conquer." Interpreting this as a divine message, he ordered his soldiers to paint the Christian symbol, the Chi Rho, on their shields. His subsequent victory at Milvian Bridge not only secured his position as emperor, but also set the stage for his conversion to Christianity, a decision that would reshape the religious landscape of the Roman Empire. Constantine's embrace of Christianity was a bold and unprecedented move for a Roman emperor. At the time, Christians were a persecuted minority, often subjected to imprisonment, torture, and execution for their beliefs. However, Constantine's conversion signaled a dramatic shift. In the year 313, he issued the Edict of Milan, a landmark decree that granted religious tolerance to Christians and ended centuries of persecution. This edict not only allowed Christians to practice their faith openly, but also restored confiscated property to Christian communities and encouraged the construction of churches. For the first time, Christianity was recognized as a legitimate religion within the Roman Empire. Constantine's support for Christianity extended beyond mere tolerance. He actively promoted the faith, funding the construction of grand basilicas, such as the Church of the Holy Sepulchre in Jerusalem and the original St. Peter's Basilica in Rome. He also convened the First Council of Nicaea in the year 325, bringing together bishops from across the empire to address theological disputes and establish a unified Christian doctrine. This council produced the Nicene Creed, a statement of faith that remains central to Christian theology to this day. Through these efforts, Constantine played a crucial role in transforming Christianity from a marginalized sect into a dominant and organized religion. Historians often highlight Constantine's reign as a turning point in European history. His decision to establish a new capital, Constantinople, in the eastern part of the empire, not only shifted the political center of gravity, but also ensured the survival of Roman culture and Christianity during the tumultuous centuries that followed. Constantine's legacy as the first Christian emperor is complex, blending his genuine faith with political pragmatism. While some criticize his use of religion to consolidate power, others praise his role in laying the foundation for the Christianization of Europe. As we reflect on Constantine's profound impact, we turn our attention to another leader whose innovative spirit would leave an indelible mark on history, Qin Shi Huang, the Unifier of China, whose groundbreaking reforms and monumental projects reshaped an entire civilization. Now turning to the ninth leader on our list, we meet Qin Shi Huang, the first emperor of a unified China, and a figure whose legacy is as monumental as it is controversial. Rising to power in the year 221 before the Common Era, Qin Shi Huang brought an end to centuries of warring states, uniting China under a single rule for the first time in its history. His reign marked the beginning of the Qin dynasty, a period of sweeping reforms and ambitious projects that would shape the course of Chinese civilization. One of Qin Shi Huang's most significant achievements was his standardization of key aspects of Chinese society. He introduced a uniform system of writing, replacing the various scripts used by different states with a single, standardized script. This innovation not only facilitated communication across the vast empire, but also laid the foundation for a shared cultural identity. Similarly, he standardized weights, measures, and currency, creating a cohesive economic system that promoted trade and stability. These reforms were revolutionary, transforming China from a collection of fragmented states into a unified and centralized empire. Qin Shi Huang's vision extended beyond administrative reforms. He is perhaps best known for his monumental construction projects, including the initial stages of the Great Wall of China. Built to protect the empire from northern invasions, the Great Wall stands as a testament to his ambition and determination. While much of the wall we see today was constructed during later dynasties, Qin Shi Huang's efforts laid the groundwork for this iconic structure. Another enduring symbol of his reign is the Terracotta Army, a vast collection of life-sized clay soldiers buried near his tomb. Discovered in the 20th century, this army was intended to protect the emperor in the afterlife and reflects his obsession with power and immortality. Yet, Qin Shi Huang's legacy is not without its darker aspects. His rule was marked by harsh policies and authoritarian control. He implemented strict legalist principles, emphasizing obedience and punishment over compassion and mercy. Scholars who opposed his ideas were persecuted, and books deemed subversive were burned in an effort to suppress dissent. His relentless pursuit of immortality led to the exploitation of laborers and the depletion of resources, further straining the empire. Historians often describe Qin Shi Huang as a paradoxical figure, a visionary leader who unified China and laid the groundwork for its future greatness, yet a ruthless ruler whose methods were often brutal. His achievements were undeniably transformative, but they came at a great cost to the people of his time. As we reflect on Qin Shi Huang's complex legacy, we turn our attention to another leader who defied expectations and challenged the status quo: Boudicca, the warrior queen who led a rebellion against Roman rule and became a symbol of resistance and courage. Now turning to the 10th leader on our list, we encounter Boudicca, the warrior queen of the Iceni tribe, whose fierce rebellion against Roman rule in Britain has become a symbol of resistance and courage. Rising to power in the 1st century of the Common Era, Boudicca's story is one of defiance, strategy, and an unyielding spirit that continues to inspire generations. Boudicca's rebellion was born out of injustice. After the death of her husband, King Prasutagus, the Romans seized control of the Iceni lands, disregarding his will, which had left half of his kingdom to his daughters and the other half to Rome. The Romans flogged Boudicca and assaulted her daughters, igniting a fire of vengeance in the queen. Rallying the Iceni and neighboring tribes, Boudicca led a massive uprising against the Roman occupiers, uniting the Britons in a rare display of solidarity. Her strategic brilliance was evident in the early stages of the rebellion. Boudicca targeted key Roman settlements, including Camulogenum, modern-day Colchester, which was a symbol of Roman authority. Her forces overwhelmed the Roman garrisons, burning the city to the ground. She then marched on Londinium, present-day London, and Verulamium, modern St. Albans, both of which suffered the same fate. The speed and ferocity of her campaign caught the Romans off guard, and for a brief moment, it seemed as though the Britons might succeed in driving the invaders from their land. However, the tide turned when the Roman governor, Gaius Suetonius Paulinus, regrouped his forces and confronted Boudicca's army in a decisive battle. Despite being outnumbered, the Romans' superior discipline and tactics prevailed. Boudicca's forces were defeated and the rebellion was crushed. Though the outcome was tragic, Boudicca's resistance left an indelible mark on history. Her defiance against a powerful empire became a powerful symbol of the fight for freedom and justice. The cultural significance of Boudicca's rebellion cannot be overstated. Her story has been celebrated in literature, art, and folklore, often portrayed as a heroic struggle against oppression. In the 19th century, during the height of the British Empire, Boudicca was embraced as a national icon, embodying the spirit of independence and resilience. Her legacy has inspired countless movements for freedom and self-determination, not just in Britain but around the world. Historians have noted that Boudicca's rebellion, though ultimately unsuccessful, forced the Romans to reconsider their policies in Britain. The brutality of the Roman response to the uprising led to reforms aimed at preventing future revolts, demonstrating the lasting impact of her resistance. Today, Boudicca remains a powerful figure in British identity, a reminder of the strength and determination of those who dare to challenge the status quo. As we reflect on Boudicca's legacy, we turn our attention to another leader whose actions reshaped the world in unexpected ways: Mansa Musa, the Malian emperor whose wealth and influence transformed trade and culture across continents. Now turning to the 11th leader on our list, we encounter Mansa Musa, the Malian emperor whose wealth and influence remain unparalleled in history. Known as the richest man to have ever lived, Mansa Musa's reign in the 14th century transformed not only his empire but also the economies and cultures of regions far beyond Africa. His story is one of opulence, generosity, and a vision that left an indelible mark on the world. Mansa Musa's fame reached its peak during his legendary pilgrimage to Mecca in the year 1324. This journey was no ordinary pilgrimage. It was a grand display of wealth and power that astonished everyone who witnessed it. Traveling with a caravan of tens of thousands of people, including soldiers, officials, and slaves, Mansa Musa brought with him vast quantities of gold. Along the way, he distributed this gold so generously that it caused inflation in the cities he passed through, disrupting economies across the Mediterranean for years. His generosity was so extraordinary that it became the stuff of legends, cementing his reputation as a figure of almost mythical wealth. But Mansa Musa's legacy extends far beyond his riches. He was a visionary leader who invested heavily in education and culture, particularly in the city of Timbuktu. Under his rule, Timbuktu became a center of learning and scholarship, attracting scholars, poets, and scientists from across the Islamic world. He commissioned the construction of mosques, libraries, and universities, turning the city into a beacon of knowledge and enlightenment. The Sankor Madrasa, one of the world's oldest universities, flourished during his reign, becoming a symbol of intellectual achievement and cultural exchange. Mansa Musa's contributions to architecture were equally remarkable. He brought skilled architects from across the Islamic world to Mali, resulting in the construction of stunning structures that blended African and Islamic styles. The Great Mosque of Timbuktu, built during his reign, stands as a testament to his commitment to cultural and religious development. His efforts not only enriched Mali but also elevated its status as a hub of trade, education, and innovation. Reflecting on Mansa Musa's legacy, we see a leader who redefined what it meant to wield power. His wealth was not hoarded but used to uplift his people and leave a lasting impact on the world. He remains a symbol of African prosperity and a reminder of the continent's rich history of leadership and innovation. As we celebrate his achievements, we turn our attention to another leader whose contributions reshaped the foundations of society: Hammurabi, the Lawgiver of Mesopotamia, whose legal code laid the groundwork for justice and governance for centuries to come. Now turning to the 12th leader on our list, we meet Hammurabi, the ancient king of Babylon, whose legacy as the lawgiver of Mesopotamia continues to shape our understanding of justice and governance. Hammurabi's reign, which began around 1792 BC, marked a turning point in the history of law. His most enduring achievement, the Code of Hammurabi, is one of the earliest known written legal systems, a groundbreaking innovation that sought to bring order and fairness to society. The Code of Hammurabi was inscribed on a massive stone stele, standing over 7 feet tall, and contained 282 laws that covered nearly every aspect of daily life. These laws addressed issues ranging from trade and commerce to family disputes, property rights, and even medical malpractice. What made Hammurabi's code revolutionary was its emphasis on consistency and accountability. For the first time, laws were written down and made accessible to the public, ensuring that everyone knew the rules and the consequences of breaking them. This transparency was a radical departure from the arbitrary judgments of rulers that had characterized earlier societies. One of the most famous principles of Hammurabi's code is the idea of an eye for an eye, a phrase that has become synonymous with justice. While this principle might seem harsh by modern standards, it was designed to ensure proportionality in punishment, preventing excessive retaliation and promoting fairness. Hammurabi's laws also introduced the concept of presumption of innocence, requiring evidence before someone could be convicted of a crime. These principles laid the foundation for many of the legal systems we rely on today. Historians have noted that Hammurabi's code was not just about punishment but also about protecting the vulnerable. Many of the laws were aimed at safeguarding the rights of women, children, and the poor. For example, one law stipulated that if a builder constructed a house that collapsed and killed the owner, the builder could be put to death. This emphasis on accountability and responsibility reflects Hammurabi's vision of a just and orderly society. The influence of Hammurabi's code extends far beyond ancient Mesopotamia. It inspired later legal systems, including those of the Greeks and Romans, and its principles can still be seen in modern laws around the world. As one historian put it, Hammurabi's code was not just a set of rules, it was a declaration of the importance of law in human society. His work reminds us that the rule of law is essential for maintaining order and protecting the rights of individuals. As we reflect on Hammurabi's contributions, we turn our attention to another leader whose actions reshaped the world in unexpected ways, Zheng He, the Chinese explorer whose voyages connected distant civilizations and transformed the course of global history. Now turning to the 13th leader on our list, we encounter Zheng He, the legendary Chinese explorer whose voyages across the Indian Ocean transformed the world in ways that are still felt today. Born in 1371 in what is now Yunnan province, Zheng He rose from humble beginnings to become one of the most influential figures in maritime history. His epic expeditions, commissioned by the Yongle Emperor of the Ming Dynasty, were not just about exploration, they were a bold statement of China's power and ambition on the global stage. Zheng He's fleet was unlike anything the world had ever seen. At its peak, it consisted of over 300 ships, including massive treasure ships that were more than 400 feet long, nearly twice the size of the ships used by European explorers like Columbus centuries later. These vessels carried tens of thousands of sailors, soldiers, and diplomats, as well as goods ranging from silk and porcelain to exotic animals like giraffes. Between 1405 and 1433, Zheng He led 7 major voyages, traveling as far as the coast of East Africa, the Arabian Peninsula, and Southeast Asia. His journeys were not just about conquest or colonization. They were missions of diplomacy, trade, and cultural exchange. One of the most remarkable aspects of Zheng He's expeditions was their impact on global trade. By establishing trade routes and forging alliances with foreign rulers, He opened up new markets for Chinese goods and brought back treasures like spices, gems, and rare woods. These exchanges enriched China's economy and introduced its culture to distant lands. At the same time, Zheng He's voyages brought foreign ideas and technologies back to China, fostering a period of innovation and cultural flourishing. Despite his monumental achievements, Zheng He's legacy was largely forgotten in later centuries. After his death, the Ming dynasty shifted its focus inward, dismantling the fleet and destroying many of the records of his voyages. Some historians argue that this decision marked a turning point in China's history, as it withdrew from global exploration just as Europe was beginning its age of discovery. As one expert notes, Zheng He's voyages were a missed opportunity for China to establish itself as a dominant global power. Had his legacy been preserved, the course of world history might have been very different. Zheng He's story reminds us of the power of exploration to connect civilizations and shape the future. His voyages were not just about trade or conquest, they were about building bridges between cultures and fostering mutual understanding. As we reflect on his contributions, we turn our attention to another leader whose actions reshaped the world in unexpected ways: Genghis Khan, the conqueror who built the largest contiguous empire in history and revolutionized the art of warfare. Now turning to the 14th leader on our list, we delve into the life of Genghis Khan, a name that evokes both awe and fear. Born as Temujin in the harsh steppes of Mongolia around 1162, Genghis Khan rose from a childhood of hardship and betrayal to become one of history's most formidable conquerors. His story is one of resilience, ambition, and unparalleled military genius. By uniting the fractured Mongol tribes under his leadership, he laid the foundation for what would become the largest contiguous empire the world has ever seen. Genghis Khan's rise to power was marked by his ability to inspire loyalty and his ruthless determination to overcome his enemies. He transformed the Mongol tribes, once known for their infighting, into a disciplined and cohesive force. His military strategies were revolutionary. Unlike many conquerors of his time, Genghis Khan relied on speed, mobility, and psychological warfare. His armies, composed of skilled horsemen, could cover vast distances with astonishing speed, often catching their enemies off guard. He also employed innovative tactics such as feigned retreats and the use of spies to outmaneuver larger and more established armies. But Genghis Khan was not just a conqueror, he was also a visionary administrator. After consolidating his empire, he implemented reforms that would shape its governance for generations. He established a legal code known as the Yasa, which promoted justice and order within his vast territories. He also encouraged religious tolerance, allowing his subjects to practice their faiths freely. This policy not only reduced internal conflicts, but also facilitated trade and cultural exchange across the empire. As one historian notes, Genghis Khan's empire was not just a military conquest, it was a network of interconnected cultures and economies that spanned continents. The Mongol Empire under Genghis Khan became a conduit for global connectivity. The Silk Road, the ancient trade route linking east and west, flourished under his rule. Goods, ideas, and technologies flowed freely between Europe, Asia, and the Middle East, fostering an unprecedented exchange of knowledge. This period of connectivity laid the groundwork for the Renaissance and other transformative movements in world history. Yet, Genghis Khan's legacy is not without its darker side. His conquests were often brutal, resulting in the deaths of millions and the destruction of entire cities. As another historian observes, Genghis Khan's empire was built on both innovation and devastation, a duality that continues to shape how we remember him. Genghis Khan's story is a testament to the complexities of leadership and the far-reaching consequences of ambition. His empire reshaped the world, connecting distant lands and cultures in ways that still influence us today. As we reflect on his legacy, we turn our attention to another leader whose impact was felt not on the battlefield but in the realm of art and culture. Nefertiti, the iconic queen whose beauty and power left an indelible mark on history. Now turning to the 15th leader on our list, we encounter Nefertiti, a figure whose name has become synonymous with beauty, power, and mystery. As the great royal wife of Pharaoh Akhenaten, Nefertiti played a pivotal role in one of the most revolutionary periods in ancient Egyptian history. Together with her husband, she championed a radical shift in religious and cultural practices, leaving a legacy that continues to captivate historians and art enthusiasts alike. Nefertiti's influence extended far beyond her role as queen. She was a key figure in Akhenaten's religious revolution, which sought to replace Egypt's traditional polytheistic beliefs with the worship of a single deity, the sun god Aten. This shift to monotheism was unprecedented in Egyptian history and marked a dramatic departure from centuries of tradition. Nefertiti was not merely a passive participant in this transformation. She was an active partner, often depicted in art and inscriptions as equal in stature to Akhenaten. Her prominence in these depictions suggests that she wielded significant political and religious power, a rarity for women of her time. One of the most striking aspects of Nefertiti's legacy is her enduring image as a symbol of beauty and strength. The famous bust of Nefertiti, discovered in 1912, remains one of the most iconic artifacts of ancient Egypt. With her elegant features, regal posture, and serene expression, the bust captures the essence of her timeless allure. But Nefertiti's beauty was more than skin deep. Her strength and intelligence were instrumental in shaping the cultural and artistic landscape of her era. Under her influence, Egyptian art underwent a dramatic transformation, moving away from rigid, formal styles to more naturalistic and expressive forms. This artistic revolution, known as the Amarna period, reflected the broader changes in Egyptian society and religion. Nefertiti's impact on Egyptian culture extended beyond her lifetime. Her partnership with Akhenaten and her role in promoting Atenism left an indelible mark on the nation's history. Although the religious reforms were eventually reversed after Akhenaten's death, Nefertiti's legacy endured. She became a symbol of female empowerment and resilience, inspiring generations of women to assert their influence in a male-dominated world. As one historian notes, Nefertiti's story is a testament to the power of vision and determination. She was not just a queen, she was a trailblazer who redefined what it meant to lead. As we reflect on Nefertiti's remarkable contributions to art, culture, and religion, we turn our attention to another leader whose impact was felt in a very different sphere: education. Charlemagne, often called the father of Europe, played a crucial role in reviving learning and culture during a time of great upheaval. His efforts to promote education and intellectual growth laid the foundation for the Renaissance and the modern world. Now turning to the 16th leader on our list, we meet Charlemagne, a towering figure in European history, often referred to as the father of Europe. His reign, spanning from 768 to 814, marked a pivotal moment in the revival of learning, culture, and governance during a time often referred to as the Dark Ages. Charlemagne's vision and leadership not only unified much of Western Europe under the Holy Roman Empire, but also laid the groundwork for the cultural and intellectual flourishing known as the Carolingian Renaissance. Charlemagne's efforts to unify Western Europe were both ambitious and transformative. Through a series of military campaigns, he expanded his empire to include vast territories from modern-day France and Germany to parts of Italy and Spain. But his legacy extends far beyond conquest. Charlemagne was deeply committed to creating a cohesive and well-governed empire. He implemented administrative reforms, standardized laws, and promoted the use of a common currency, all of which helped to stabilize and unify his diverse realm. His crowning as Emperor of the Romans by Pope Leo III in the year 800 symbolized the fusion of Roman, Christian, and Germanic traditions, creating a new political and cultural identity for Europe. One of Charlemagne's most enduring contributions was his role as a patron of education and culture. Recognizing the importance of learning in strengthening his empire, he established schools and libraries across his territories, attracting scholars from across Europe. Charlemagne himself was a strong advocate for literacy, even though he struggled to read and write in his later years. He surrounded himself with intellectuals like Alcuin of York, who helped to reform education and revive the study of classical texts. This intellectual revival, known as the Carolingian Renaissance, preserved and transmitted much of the knowledge from antiquity, ensuring that it would influence future generations. Charlemagne's commitment to religion also played a central role in his reign. He saw himself as a defender of Christianity and worked tirelessly to spread the faith throughout his empire. He supported the construction of churches and monasteries, which became centers of learning and culture. His efforts to standardize religious practices, including the adoption of the Gregorian chant, helped to unify the Christian church across Europe. As one historian notes, Charlemagne's reign was not just about political power, it was about creating a Christian empire that would endure for centuries. Reflecting on Charlemagne's legacy, it's clear that his impact on Europe was profound and far-reaching. His efforts to revive learning, unify diverse peoples, and promote Christianity laid the foundation for the cultural and intellectual achievements of the Middle Ages and beyond. As we consider his contributions, we turn our attention to another leader whose innovations reshaped the world in a very different way: architecture. Imhotep, the ancient Egyptian polymath, revolutionized building techniques and left a legacy that continues to inspire awe today. Now turning to the 17th leader on our list, we encounter Imhotep, a figure whose genius reshaped not only the landscape of ancient Egypt, but also the very foundations of architecture and medicine. Imhotep, who lived during the 27th century before the Common Era, is best known as the architect behind the Step Pyramid of Djoser, the first large-scale stone structure in history. This monumental achievement marked a turning point in architectural design, moving away from traditional mud brick construction to the use of durable stone, a shift that would influence building techniques for millennia. The Step Pyramid, located at Saqqara, was not just a tomb for Pharaoh Djoser, but a symbol of divine power and human ingenuity. Imhotep's innovative design featured 6 stacked mastabas, or flat-roofed structures, creating a stepped appearance that reached toward the heavens. This architectural marvel was not only a testament to Imhotep's engineering skills, but also a reflection of his deep understanding of religious and cultural symbolism. The pyramid complex included courtyards, temples, and shrines, all meticulously planned to honor the pharaoh and ensure his safe passage to the afterlife. As one historian notes, Imhotep's work on the Step Pyramid was more than an architectural feat. It was a spiritual statement connecting the earthly realm with the divine. But Imhotep's contributions extended far beyond architecture. He was also a pioneering figure in the field of medicine, often regarded as the world's first physician. His medical texts, though largely lost to time, were referenced by later Greek and Roman scholars who praised his knowledge of anatomy, surgery, and healing practices. Imhotep's holistic approach to medicine emphasized the importance of diet, hygiene, and natural remedies, principles that remain relevant in modern healthcare. His reputation as a healer was so profound that he was eventually deified, becoming one of the few non-royal Egyptians to be worshipped as a god. In later centuries, he was venerated as the god of medicine and wisdom, a testament to his enduring influence. Imhotep's legacy as a polymath, a master of multiple disciplines, cements his place as one of history's greatest innovators. His ability to excel in architecture, medicine, and even religious thought highlights the interconnectedness of knowledge in ancient Egypt. As one expert observes, Imhotep was not just a builder or a healer. He was a visionary who understood that progress in one field could inspire breakthroughs in another. His work laid the groundwork for future advancements in Egyptian civilization, influencing everything from temple construction to medical practices. Reflecting on Imhotep's extraordinary achievements, we are reminded of the power of innovation to transcend time and culture. His legacy continues to inspire awe and admiration, a testament to the enduring impact of his genius. As we move forward, we turn our attention to another leader whose intellectual contributions reshaped the world in a very different way: philosophy. Socrates, the ancient Greek thinker, challenged authority and redefined the way we understand knowledge, truth, and human existence. Now turning to the 18th leader on our list, we encounter Socrates, the ancient Greek philosopher whose relentless questioning and pursuit of truth reshaped the foundations of Western thought. Born in Athens around 470 before the Common Era, Socrates is often regarded as one of the most influential figures in philosophy, despite never writing a single word himself. His ideas and methods were preserved by his students, most notably Plato, whose dialogues immortalized Socrates' teachings and his unique approach to seeking knowledge. Socrates' most enduring contribution was his method of questioning, now known as the Socratic method. Instead of providing answers, Socrates would ask probing questions to challenge assumptions and encourage critical thinking. This approach was revolutionary as it shifted the focus from accepting traditional beliefs to examining them rigorously. For example, in Plato's dialogue, The Apology, Socrates famously declared, "The unexamined life is not worth living," emphasizing the importance of self-reflection and intellectual inquiry. His method not only transformed philosophy but also laid the groundwork for modern education and scientific inquiry, where questioning and debate are essential to progress. However, Socrates' commitment to questioning authority and challenging societal norms came at a great personal cost. In 399 before the Common Era, he was put on trial in Athens, accused of corrupting the youth and impiety, charges that many historians believe were politically motivated. During his trial, Socrates defended his philosophy with unwavering conviction, refusing to compromise his principles even in the face of death. He was ultimately sentenced to drink hemlock, a poison, marking a tragic end to his life but solidifying his legacy as a martyr for intellectual freedom. His trial and execution remain a powerful reminder of the risks faced by those who dare to challenge the status quo. Socrates' influence extended far beyond his lifetime, shaping the work of his most famous student, Plato, and later, Plato's student, Aristotle. Together, these three thinkers are often referred to as the founding figures of Western philosophy. Plato's dialogues, which feature Socrates as the central character, explore profound questions about justice, morality, and the nature of reality. Aristotle, in turn, built upon these ideas, developing his own theories on ethics, politics, and natural science. As one historian notes, without Socrates, the intellectual landscape of the ancient world, and by extension, the modern world, would look vastly different. Reflecting on Socrates' legacy, we see a man who valued truth and integrity above all else, even at the cost of his own life. His method of questioning continues to inspire critical thinking and intellectual courage, reminding us of the importance of challenging assumptions and seeking deeper understanding. As we move forward, we turn our attention to another leader who defied authority in a very different way: Spartacus, the gladiator whose rebellion against Rome became a symbol of resistance and freedom. Now turning to the 19th leader on our list, we meet Spartacus, the gladiator whose rebellion against Rome became one of the most iconic acts of defiance in history. Born in Thrace, a region in modern-day Bulgaria, Spartacus was enslaved by the Romans and trained as a gladiator in Capua, a city known for its brutal gladiatorial schools. Around 73 before the Common Era, he led a daring escape from the school, sparking a revolt that would grow into a full-scale war against the Roman Republic. Spartacus' story is not just one of rebellion, but also of strategic brilliance and the enduring fight for freedom. Spartacus' revolt began with a small group of gladiators, but it quickly gained momentum as thousands of enslaved people joined his cause. His ability to unite people from diverse backgrounds, Thracians, Gauls, and others, into a cohesive fighting force was remarkable. Spartacus demonstrated exceptional military skill, using guerrilla tactics to outmaneuver the Roman legions. He led his army to several stunning victories, including the defeat of multiple Roman commanders sent to crush the rebellion. His ability to inspire loyalty and his tactical ingenuity made him a formidable opponent, even for the mighty Roman military machine. The cultural significance of Spartacus' rebellion cannot be overstated. At a time when the Roman Republic relied heavily on enslaved labor, his revolt exposed the fragility of the system and the deep-seated discontent among the enslaved population. Spartacus' uprising forced Rome to confront the moral and economic contradictions of its reliance on slavery. As one historian notes, Spartacus' rebellion was a wake-up call for Rome, revealing the cracks in its social and political foundations. While the revolt was ultimately crushed in 71 before the Common Era, its impact reverberated throughout Roman society, leading to stricter controls on enslaved populations and a heightened awareness of the potential for mass uprisings. Spartacus' legacy extends far beyond his lifetime. His story has become a symbol of resistance against oppression, inspiring countless movements for freedom and equality throughout history. From the abolitionist movements of the 19th century to modern struggles for civil rights, Spartacus' name has been invoked as a rallying cry for those fighting against injustice. His defiance reminds us of the power of collective action and the enduring human desire for liberty. As we reflect on Spartacus' impact, we see a leader who turned his personal suffering into a broader struggle for justice. His rebellion may have been crushed, but his spirit of resistance lives on, inspiring generations to challenge tyranny and fight for a better world. Moving forward, we turn our attention to another leader who reshaped history in a very different way: Akhenaten, the pharaoh whose radical religious reforms challenged the traditions of ancient Egypt. Now turning to the 20th leader on our list, we encounter Akhenaten, the pharaoh whose radical religious reforms shook the foundations of ancient Egypt. Known as the heretic pharaoh, Akhenaten dared to challenge centuries of tradition by promoting the worship of a single god, the Aten, the sun disk. This shift from polytheism to monotheism was unprecedented in Egyptian history and marked a dramatic departure from the established religious order. Akhenaten's reign, which began around 1353 before the Common Era, was not just a political revolution but a cultural and spiritual upheaval that redefined the identity of Egypt. At the heart of Akhenaten's reforms was the construction of a new capital city, Amarna, dedicated to the worship of the Aten. This city, built from scratch in the desert, became a symbol of his vision for a new Egypt. Amarna was designed to reflect the principles of his religious revolution, with open-air temples and structures that allowed sunlight to flood in, symbolizing the life-giving power of the Aten. The art of Amarna also broke from tradition, adopting a more naturalistic style that depicted the royal family in intimate, everyday scenes. This artistic innovation was a stark contrast to the rigid, formal depictions of earlier Egyptian art, reflecting Akhenaten's desire to humanize the divine and bring it closer to the people. However, Akhenaten's reforms were not without controversy. His promotion of monotheism alienated the powerful priesthood of Amun-Ra, the traditional chief deity of Egypt, and disrupted the religious and economic systems tied to the old gods. As one historian notes, Akhenaten's reign was a time of profound disruption, as he sought to replace the polytheistic traditions of Egypt with a singular focus on the Aten. This radical shift created tension within Egyptian society, and after his death, much of his work was undone. His successors, including his son Tutankhamun, restored the old gods and erased many traces of Akhenaten's reign, labeling him a heretic. Despite this, Akhenaten's legacy endures as a bold experiment in religious and cultural transformation. His attempt to centralize worship around the Aten laid the groundwork for later monotheistic traditions, and his artistic innovations influenced Egyptian art for generations. As we reflect on Akhenaten's reign, we see a leader who was willing to challenge the status quo, even at great personal and political cost. His story reminds us of the power of vision and the risks of radical change. Moving forward, we turn our attention to another leader whose innovations reshaped the course of history: Julius Caesar, the Roman dictator whose reforms transformed governance and set the stage for the rise of the Roman Empire. Now turning to the 21st leader on our list, we meet Julius Caesar, the Roman general and statesman whose rise to power marked a turning point in the history of Rome. Born into a patrician family in 100 before the Common Era, Caesar's ambition and political acumen propelled him to the forefront of Roman politics. His reforms and military conquests not only expanded the Roman Republic, but also set the stage for its transformation into an empire. Caesar's story is one of brilliance, ambition, and ultimately tragedy. Caesar's rise to power began with his military campaigns, most notably in Gaul, modern-day France. Over the course of nearly a decade, he led his legions to victory in a series of brutal wars, expanding Roman territory and securing immense wealth and prestige for himself. His conquest of Gaul, chronicled in his own writings, showcased his strategic genius and ability to inspire loyalty among his troops. As one historian notes, Caesar's campaigns in Gaul were not just military triumphs, they were masterclasses in leadership and logistics. These victories solidified his reputation as one of Rome's greatest generals and gave him the political leverage he needed to challenge the Senate's authority. However, Caesar's ambitions extended far beyond the battlefield. Upon returning to Rome, he implemented a series of sweeping reforms aimed at addressing the Republic's social and economic inequalities. He redistributed land to the poor, reformed the calendar, and granted citizenship to residents of far-flung provinces. These measures earned him the support of the Roman populace, but also deepened the resentment of the Senate, who saw him as a threat to their power. Caesar's decision to cross the Rubicon River in 49 before the Common Era, defying the Senate's orders, marked the beginning of a civil war that would ultimately lead to his dictatorship. Caesar's assassination on the Ides of March in 44 before the Common Era was a dramatic and pivotal moment in Roman history. Betrayed by a group of senators, including his close ally Brutus, Caesar's death plunged Rome into further chaos. His assassination did not restore the Republic as his killers had hoped, but instead paved the way for the rise of his adopted heir, Octavian, who would become Rome's first emperor, Augustus. As one expert observes, Caesar's death was not the end of his influence. It was the beginning of a new era in Roman history, one defined by imperial rule. Julius Caesar's legacy is complex and far-reaching. His military campaigns expanded Rome's borders, his reforms reshaped its society, and his death transformed its political system. He remains a symbol of ambition, power, and the dangers of unchecked authority. As we reflect on his life, we see a leader whose actions continue to shape our understanding of leadership and governance. Moving forward, we turn our attention to a leader whose contributions were not in the realm of politics or war, but in the world of words and ideas. Sappho, the poet whose lyrical works redefined love and literature. Now turning to the 22nd leader on our list, we encounter Sappho, the ancient Greek poet whose lyrical works have left an indelible mark on Western literature and our understanding of love. Born on the island of Lesbos around 630 before the Common Era, Sappho's poetry was celebrated for its emotional depth, vivid imagery, and intimate exploration of human relationships. Often referred to as the 10th muse by later generations, Sappho's influence extends far beyond her time, shaping the way we think about love, desire, and artistic expression. Sappho's life on Lesbos, a cultural hub in the ancient Aegean, provided the backdrop for her poetic genius. She was part of a community of women who gathered to study, compose, and perform poetry, often centered around themes of love and beauty. Her works, though only fragments survive today, reveal a profound sensitivity to the complexities of human emotion. One of her most famous lines, "Someone, I tell you, will remember us even in another time," speaks to her awareness of her own enduring legacy. Through her poetry, Sappho captured the intensity of love, both its joys and its sorrows, in a way that resonated deeply with her contemporaries and continues to inspire readers today. Her lyrical style, characterized by its musicality and personal tone, broke new ground in ancient literature. Unlike the epic poetry of Homer, which focused on grand narratives of gods and heroes, Sappho's work was deeply personal, often addressing the inner lives of women. Her poems explored themes of passion, longing, and heartbreak, offering a rare glimpse into the emotional world of ancient women. As one scholar notes, Sappho's poetry is not just about love, it is love itself, expressed in its purest and most universal form. Sappho's cultural significance extends beyond her literary achievements. As a woman in a male-dominated society, she defied conventions and carved out a space for female creativity. Her legacy as a symbol of female empowerment and artistic expression has made her an enduring figure in the history of literature. The term lesbian, derived from her home island of Lesbos, reflects her lasting impact on discussions of love and identity. Though much of her work has been lost to time, the fragments that remain continue to captivate and inspire, reminding us of the power of words to transcend centuries. As we reflect on Sappho's contributions, we see a leader whose influence lies not in conquests or political reforms, but in the realm of ideas and emotions. Her poetry redefined love as a universal and deeply personal experience, leaving a legacy that continues to shape our understanding of human connection. Moving forward, we turn our attention to a leader whose impact was felt not in the world of art, but in the realm of trade and commerce. Mansa Musa, the Malian emperor whose wealth and generosity transformed economies across the Mediterranean. Now turning to the 23rd leader on our list, we meet Harald Hardrada, often called the last Viking king, whose life was a whirlwind of adventure, ambition, and conquest. Born in Norway around 1015, Harald's story is one of relentless determination and a thirst for glory that defined the Viking Age. From his early years as a warrior in exile to his final, fateful attempt to conquer England, Harald's life was a testament to the Viking spirit of exploration and daring. Harald's journey began in exile after the death of his half-brother, King Olaf II, in the Battle of Stiklestad. Fleeing to the east, he spent years as a mercenary in the service of the Byzantine Empire, where he honed his skills as a military leader and amassed a fortune. His exploits in the east were legendary, from commanding the Varangian Guard to leading campaigns in the Mediterranean. These experiences not only shaped him as a warrior, but also gave him a broader perspective on power and politics, which he would later bring back to Scandinavia. Returning to Norway, Harald claimed the throne and set about consolidating his rule. His reign was marked by ambitious military campaigns, including an invasion of Denmark, though his efforts to unite Scandinavia under his rule ultimately fell short. However, it was his audacious attempt to conquer England in 1066 that cemented his place in history. Landing in northern England with a formidable army, Harald initially achieved success, defeating local forces at the Battle of Fulford. But his ambitions were cut short at the Battle of Stamford Bridge, where he faced the forces of King Harold Godwinson. In a dramatic and bloody clash, Harald was killed, marking the end of the Viking Age and the last great Viking invasion of England. Harald's impact on Viking culture and European politics was profound. His life embodied the Viking ideals of bravery, exploration, and the pursuit of glory. His campaigns and alliances reshaped the political landscape of Northern Europe, influencing the balance of power between kingdoms. As one historian notes, Harald Hardrada was not just a king, he was the living embodiment of the Viking Age, a symbol of its triumphs and its ultimate decline. Reflecting on Harald's legacy, we see a leader whose life was defined by his relentless pursuit of greatness. His story reminds us of the enduring allure of adventure and the complex interplay of ambition and fate. As we move forward, we turn our attention to a leader whose impact was felt not on the battlefield, but in the realm of spirituality, Siddhartha Gautama, the Buddha, whose teachings transformed the spiritual landscape of Asia and beyond. Now turning to the 24th leader on our list, we encounter Siddhartha Gautama, the Buddha, whose profound spiritual journey and teachings reshaped the spiritual and cultural fabric of Asia. Born into a life of privilege as a prince in ancient India around the 6th century BCE, Siddhartha's story is one of transformation, from a sheltered royal to a wandering ascetic, and ultimately to the enlightened teacher who would inspire millions. Siddhartha's path to enlightenment began with a deep sense of dissatisfaction. Despite living in luxury, he was troubled by the suffering he observed in the world: old age, sickness, and death. This realization led him to abandon his royal life in search of answers. For years, he practiced extreme asceticism, pushing his body to its limits, but found no lasting peace. It was only when he adopted a middle path, rejecting both indulgence and self-denial, that he achieved enlightenment under the Bodhi tree. This moment marked the birth of Buddhism, a philosophy centered on the Four Noble Truths and the Eightfold Path, which offered a way to transcend suffering and achieve inner peace. The Buddha's teachings spread rapidly across Asia, carried by monks, traders, and travelers. His emphasis on compassion, mindfulness, and ethical living resonated deeply with people from all walks of life. One of his most famous teachings, "Hatred does not cease by hatred, but only by love. This is the eternal rule," encapsulates the core of his message. Buddhism's adaptability allowed it to integrate with local cultures, giving rise to diverse traditions such as the Theravada, Mahayana, and Vajrayana. From the monasteries of Sri Lanka to the temples of China and Japan, the Buddha's influence became a unifying force across the continent. The Buddha's legacy extends far beyond religion. His teachings on mindfulness and meditation have found relevance in modern psychology and wellness practices, offering tools for managing stress and cultivating mental clarity. His emphasis on nonviolence and compassion has inspired movements for social justice and peace, from Gandhi's struggle for Indian independence to the global advocacy of the Dalai Lama. As one scholar notes, the Buddha's wisdom transcends time and culture, offering a timeless guide to living a meaningful and harmonious life. Reflecting on Siddhartha Gautama's impact, we see a leader whose journey was not about conquest or power, but about understanding the human condition and alleviating suffering. His teachings remind us of the potential for transformation within each of us and the power of compassion to heal and unite. As we move forward, we turn our attention to a leader whose innovations in science and engineering laid the groundwork for modern technology, Archimedes of Syracuse, the genius whose discoveries continue to shape our world today. Now turning to the 25th and final leader on our list, we meet Archimedes of Syracuse, a man whose brilliance in mathematics, engineering, and physics laid the foundation for countless scientific advancements. Born in the ancient Greek city of Syracuse around 287 BCE, Archimedes was a thinker far ahead of his time, blending theoretical knowledge with practical innovation in ways that continue to influence our world today. One of Archimedes' most famous contributions was his work on levers and the principle of buoyancy. The story of him shouting "Eureka" after discovering the principle of displacement while taking a bath is legendary. This discovery not only solved a practical problem determining whether a crown was made of pure gold, but also established a fundamental law of physics. His statement, "Give me a place to stand and I shall move the earth," captures his deep understanding of leverage and its potential to amplify human effort. This principle remains at the heart of modern engineering, from construction cranes to the design of everyday tools. Another groundbreaking invention attributed to Archimedes is the Archimedes screw, a device used to lift water from lower to higher levels. Originally designed to help farmers irrigate their fields, this simple yet effective mechanism is still in use today, particularly in agriculture and wastewater treatment. Its enduring utility is a testament to Archimedes' ability to solve real-world problems with elegant, practical solutions. Archimedes also made significant strides in mathematics, particularly in geometry and calculus. He calculated the value of pi with remarkable accuracy, developed methods for determining the areas and volumes of complex shapes, and laid the groundwork for integral calculus centuries before it was formally developed. His work on the measurement of circles, spheres, and cylinders remains foundational in mathematics education. As one historian notes, Archimedes' mathematical genius was not just about solving problems, but about creating tools and methods that others could build upon. Perhaps one of his most fascinating contributions was his work on war machines during the Roman siege of Syracuse. Archimedes designed ingenious devices such as the claw of Archimedes, a crane-like weapon that could lift and capsize enemy ships, and parabolic mirrors that allegedly focused sunlight to set ships ablaze. While some of these inventions border on legend, they highlight his ability to apply scientific principles to defend his city. Archimedes' legacy is one of relentless curiosity and innovation. He embodied the spirit of scientific inquiry, always seeking to understand the natural world and harness its principles for the betterment of humanity. His work continues to inspire scientists, engineers, and thinkers, reminding us of the power of curiosity and the enduring impact of intellectual exploration. As we conclude our journey through the lives of these 25 ancient leaders, we see a common thread of vision, resilience, and innovation that connects their stories. From the spiritual wisdom of the Buddha to the scientific genius of Archimedes, their contributions have shaped the course of history in ways that continue to resonate today. Their legacies remind us that the choices we make, whether in leadership, philosophy, or science, can have far-reaching and unexpected consequences, shaping the world for generations to come. Now turning to the conclusion of our journey through the lives of these 25 ancient leaders, we reflect on the extraordinary ways they reshaped history, often in the most unexpected ways. From Hatshepsut's groundbreaking reign as a female pharaoh to Cyrus the Great's visionary policies of tolerance, each leader left an indelible mark on the world. Hannibal's daring military strategies, Confucius' timeless wisdom, and Ashoka's transformation from Conqueror to Peacemaker remind us that leadership takes many forms, each with its own profound impact. These figures, though separated by time and geography, share a common thread of innovation, resilience, and vision that continues to inspire us today. Their stories reveal how individual choices can ripple across centuries, shaping cultures, philosophies, and even the course of empires. Whether it was Hypatia's pursuit of knowledge in a male-dominated society, Mansa Musa's unparalleled wealth and generosity, or Qin Shi Huang's unification of China, these leaders challenged the status quo and redefined what was possible. Their legacies remind us that history is not just a record of the past but a living force that influences our present and future. As we consider their contributions, we are reminded of the power of human agency. The decisions made by these leaders, whether in moments of triumph or adversity, continue to echo through time. Their innovations in governance, warfare, art, and science laid the foundations for the world we live in today. Their resilience in the face of challenges and their unwavering vision for a better future serve as timeless lessons for us all. In the words of the Roman philosopher Cicero, "To be ignorant of what occurred before you were born is to remain always a child." These ancient leaders teach us that understanding history is not just about knowing the past but about drawing wisdom and inspiration from it. Their stories challenge us to think critically about the choices we make and the legacy we wish to leave behind. As we close this chapter, we invite you to reflect on these remarkable figures and their enduring influence. How do their stories resonate with you? Which leader's journey inspired you the most? Share your thoughts in the comments below and let's continue this conversation. If you enjoyed this exploration of history's hidden threads, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for more content that brings the past to life. Thank you for joining us on this journey through the lives of 25 ancient leaders who changed history in the most unexpected ways. Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep making history.